All right, so we're standing down here in the Tony Stewart Racing pit after round one of Funny Car. Matt Hagan, you suffered a massive explosion during your round one loss here today in Maple Grove, but it wasn't the explosion that had you upset. Take us through that race and what was it that had you so riled up?
Yeah, you know, what got me upset is obviously something I've been very vocal about for years now, and it just kind of fallen on deaf ears, is like the tethers, man. They're just very, very unsafe for us as drivers. I couldn't see where I was at. I couldn't see where my opponent was at. I couldn't see where the wall was at. I just had the firewall in my face, and you know, we were at 600 feet or so, but it's still, you're still running over 200 miles an hour, and I've had them, you know, blow up down there on the big end where you're clipping over 300, and it doesn't matter how much experience and seat time that I've had, when you can't see to drive your race car and maneuver around situations, you're just handicapped. You know, I mean, you're handcuffed as far as your experience and your drivability, and it's just super dangerous. And you know, I don't know what the answer is, but this ain't it. The legend of our sport, John Forrest, would probably still be driving today if it wasn't for these tethers. Say however you want to, but you know, he obviously couldn't see, couldn't get the parachutes, they didn't open, he hit the wall, you know, on and on and on. You break it down however you want to, but at the end of the day, I feel like John would still be here today, you know, driving a race car, because that's what John does. And you know, for me, you know, I'm a 4-time champion, been through a little bit of everything, man. You know, I've been on fire and hitting stuff and blown up and all that kind of stuff, and it's this is the only thing that makes me, you know, lay in bed at night and go like, man, you're stupid for still being here. You know, I've proven everything I needed to be out here, and I've done everything that I wanted to do, and I still keep crawling back in this thing, and everybody goes, well, you know, the risk when you drive them, you're the driver, you know, you take that on, and that's why it makes me want to walk away, because I do know the risk, and I knew the dangerous situation that I'm putting myself in because of our sanctioning body that has mandated these tethers. I just think it's wrong, and I think it's going to really get more people hurt. I mean, it's already cost John his career. Caps has gotten lucky. There's a couple of, look at Wilkerson the other day, on and on and on. I mean, it just, every time one of these things explodes, you know, the parachutes, a lot of times we got less than a 50% chance of them coming out, because you got carnage back there. They can't get to clean air. Sometimes the solenoids and different things are messed up from the explosion. You know, we've been busting bodies off of these things for decades, and no one's gotten hurt. I get we have to protect our fans, but at the end of the day, you go to a baseball game and you sit on third baseline, you better have your head on a swivel, because you could catch a foul ball. Same with our fans. I love them to death, but why are we putting so much extra, you know, our drivers in so much extra danger for our bodies that you know, that I know of, not a single fan has ever gotten hurt from it. Yeah, we've had some float down and guys run out of the way and different things like that, but you know, to this day, I just shake my head, because it's just like, it's just a matter of time. I think when you crawl in one of these cars, it's not, you know, if you really think it's not going to happen to you, you're foolish, right? It's just a matter of when it's going to happen to you. So you wear the right gear, and not that you're a daredevil or anything else. You know that your guys are doing a good job to keep you safe and protect you. But when you tie these bodies down, it's like kind of it's like taking a firecracker and putting it in your hand. If you open up your fingers, it's going to burn you, right? But you close your fingers around it, it's going to knock your fingers off. That's basic principle of you know, energy, right? Like and that's what we're doing. We're trying to close our hands around the firecracker. The driver absorbs a lot of that energy, you know, and then on top of it, the carbon bodies are fuel for fire. So if we do have the rods out of them and the fire gets really bad, the carbon starts burning, you take in a lot of smoke, you can't see from that, the fires are really bad, you have a chance of getting burned up. You know, escape hatch is only one way out, is at the top. If that gets knocked around, Johnny Gray had the situation where he got trapped in it when he refused to run them after that. You know, on and on and on. Like the list keeps going, and I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the answer is, but this ain't it. And I think that you know, Guido, what was really nice is Guido, Dickie Venables, and I think Ron Tobler back in the day, before the tethers got mandated, they had an opportunity to go to NHRA with a different solution, and we have brought that back up, and I've been talking to Guido about it. I think Dickie's been involved. Guido's got something to bring to the table to help with, like, kind of letting some of that pressure out before it actually blows the body off and different things like that. It's kind of like a spring design. Same with our engineers at Dodge. They've been working hard with that. I don't know if the NHRA listens to that or not, or even if it's at the table. From what I understood, they brought it to the table. They said submit it and got shut down. So I don't know. It's just frustrating. Obviously, I'm very emotional about it, but you know, hey, I got 4 kids to go back to, and it's one of those things where I love this sport and I love doing what I do. I feel like I'm good at driving the car, but there comes a point in time where you go like, you're just foolish to keep doing this, because you're going to get yourself hurt.
And when we look at this body, we can see it right here. Catastrophic damage from basically behind the front wheel well all the way around, just completely tore apart. people in the grandstands are not going to have a full understanding of what you went through. Same thing. So just real quickly, in your own words, from the moment you're on that starting line to the moment you got out of the hatch, take us through what's going through your mind and what you're able to see when stuff like this happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of energy. So it's like, obviously when it blows up, it shocks you, and then you're kind of figuring out where you're at and what's going on. But then having the firewall in your face instead of the windshield in your face, you can't see. And so the only thing you can do is grab brake and hope you don't bounce it off the wall. Fortunately for me, I was able to kind of keep it straight enough to not on the wall, but didn't know where my opponent was, didn't know where I was at, and just along for the ride, man.
And you talked about, the issues you had with the NHRA, just trying to get them to listen. Is this simply an issue of the tech department who has had complaints in the past, or does this go higher up to the people in the offices at Glendora? Who exactly can fans point to and say this is the person who needs to listen to these drivers?
I don't know. I've talked to Chad Head about it, and Chad's supposed to be one of the head guys at Pro. He was supposed to run it up the ladder like a couple weeks ago when we had this issue with Wilkerson and stuff like that. I don't really know where it was at. It's kind of one of those things where I put Guido and Chad Head and Dave, our engineer from Dodge, together, and you got guys engineering things. It needs to not come from me. It needs to come from a real engineer, and and piecing all the people together. So I think that's my responsibility, as vocal as I've been about it, to try to put the right people around each other and come up with something better than this. I don't know what that is, but I know it ain't this.
And one of the big things that people talk about is when you talk about something as simple as just taking the tethers off the body and going back to how it used to be when Robert Hite had his accident and the body went in the crowd in St. Louis, is the fans outside the racetrack. There's been a lot of talk about saying we can't do it because you don't want fans to get hurt.
Well, my question is like, when you had not Josh Hart, but what's his name, lost his finger?
Sean Reed.
Reed. Well, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just bad with names. When you had Reed, have that crash, and then we had an A-arm come off the trailer and hit a lady in the head. Are we going to put a net around the whole entire racetrack because when it blows a tire and the wing goes and a car crashes? And how do you protect everybody from everything? So why are we handicapping and putting our drivers in a really, really bad situation when we can't control that over there? So why are we trying to control this over here? I mean, it is what it is. It's a race car. I think, there's going to be situations when bad things happen, but we've just taken it 5 times fold and made it more dangerous for our drivers.
And then the last question, looking at big picture ahead, you're now on a 3-race stretch. To start off the countdown, you have a very short turnaround time to get this car ready for Charlotte. Looking at the body, obviously it's gone, it's totaled. The chassis, they're obviously tearing that apart, trying to see what needs to be fixed. What is the game plan now as you still chase this championship, now having to suffer a first-round loss while you try to chase down Austin Prock for this title?
Yeah, it's just figuring out what parts and pieces failed. It's not my crew chief's fault by any means. It wasn't tune-up related or anything like that. It just, we have some type of valve train issue and chasing that down, and kind of like, it always makes crew chief step back and go a little bit more conservative when, in the countdown you need to be pushing a little bit harder. So that, I'm sure this will set us back some, but as, former champion, you have to just, dig and grind and get your pom-poms out and root everybody on and just do what's best for the team. So it's definitely a setback. We'll get a new Dodge body and get running. I'm sure the chassis is fine. I didn't hit the wall or anything like that. So that'll be fine. But it's just figuring out what broke in the valve train to kind of go back up there and be aggressive again. And it's always kind of in the back of those guys' mind of like, hey, what was it? And is it going to do it again? And so it definitely puts a damper on things. But we'll figure it out and move forward.